What's the pathophysiology of chronic bronchitis? Well, I busted out the Play-Doh so I can show you. Well, as you can see here, this is a bronchi here, and the bronchi allow for the passage of air into the alveoli in order to be exchanged, have the oxygen and CO2 exchange between the pulmonary vessels here for inhalation and exhalation. That's what the bronchi essentially do. They're pathways, and in those pathways they have cells that they need to keep these nourished, they need to keep them elastic, they need to keep them open, and so on and so forth, so that way they're just not irritated. But when we start to introduce things like chronic smoking and those kind of things where they're always being exposed to toxins and smoke, basically what these cells do is they start to get irritated. And in chronic bronchitis, what happens is that we start to try and nullify that irritation by increasing more mucus. So we produce something called goblet cells, and these goblet cells start to multiply and get more and more and more. And the whole purpose of multiplying these goblet cells is to secrete more mucus into these bronchi, and it's basically to try and line them so that way they don't get nearly as irritated. But as we continue to produce more and more mucus and more fluid in there, unfortunately we start to get much more narrow bronchi, like so we don't have as much good or as good a gas exchange to the alveoli here in order to kind of create more oxygenation. So these patients have really chronic wet coughs and really poor oxygenation because of the poor gas exchange, because of the increased amount of mucus inside the bronchi.